This is the story of World War II, the biggest conflict in human history.
Germany has invaded Poland.
The Japanese have attacked.
Germany has declared war on Russia.
April 30th, 1943. 4:30 a.m. The Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Spain. HMS Seraph breaks the surface in darkness. Only her conning tower clears the waves. The rest of her hull ripples beneath black water. 29-year-old Lieutenant Norman Jewell climbs onto the deck with his officers. They're carrying something heavy, a steel canister, 2 meters long, 180 kilograms, marked "Handle with care, optical instruments." The crew below deck has been joking about it for 11 days. John Brown's body, our new shipmate Charlie. They think it's funny. They have no idea. Jewell opens the container. The smell hits like a physical force. 3 months of decomposition, even with dry ice preservation, creates an unforgettable stench. One officer turns away, gagging. Another covers his face with his sleeve. Inside is the body of a man, yellow-skinned from poison, malnourished, dressed in a Royal Marines officer's uniform that hangs loose on his frame. A briefcase is chained to his wrist. Jewell's officers lift the corpse, lower it into the water. It floats face down, arms spread, briefcase dangling. Jewell reads Psalm 39. "Lord, make me to know mine end and the measure of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am." Then he orders the engines full astern. The wash from the propellers pushes the body toward shore, toward Spain, toward Hitler, toward history. Mincemeat completed, Jewell radios to London. This operation has maybe a 1% chance of success. 1,000 things could go wrong. The body could decompose too much. The Spanish could hand it directly to British authorities. The Germans could suspect a plant. Any one of these failures will turn the invasion of Sicily into a slaughterhouse. But if it works, if a homeless man's corpse can fool the Führer, it will save thousands of lives. This is Operation Mincemeat, the most audacious con in military history. And it starts with a spy novelist's crazy idea, September 1939. The war is 3 weeks old. Lieutenant Commander Ian Fleming sits in his office at the Admiralty. He's 29, not famous, not a novelist yet, just the personal assistant to Admiral John Godfrey, Director of Naval Intelligence. But he's already thinking like a spy. Godfrey wants ideas, ways to deceive the enemy, unconventional tactics. Fleming loves this sort of thing. He's been reading spy novels since he was a boy. He writes a memo, compares deceiving the enemy to fly fishing. The trout fisher casts patiently all day. He frequently changes his venue and his lures. If he has frightened a fish, he may give the water a rest for half an hour, but his main endeavor is incessant. Fleming lists 54 ways to fool the Germans. Some are brilliant, some are insane. Most will never be used. Number 28 comes from a 1937 detective novel by Basil Thompson, a forgotten mystery writer whose books nobody reads anymore. The idea: plant fake documents on a corpse. Make it look like an officer died in a plane crash. Let the enemy find the body. Let them think they've stumbled onto a goldmine of intelligence. Fleming titles it A Suggestion, Not a Very Nice One. He notes it's borrowed from fiction, admits it's distasteful. Then he files it away. The Trout memo circulates through British intelligence. A few people read it, most ignore it. For 3 years, nobody touches idea number 28. Nobody thinks you could actually fool Hitler with a corpse. Everything changes. The Allies have won North Africa. Sicily is the obvious next target, the stepping stone to mainland Italy, the gateway to Hitler's fortress Europe, which means the Germans know it too. Prime Minister Winston Churchill promises the Americans they'll invade Sicily by July. But there's a problem. If it's obvious to the Allies, it's obvious to the Axis. The Germans will fortify Sicily with everything they have. Panzers, artillery, the Luftwaffe, Allied planners predict 10,000 casualties just taking the beaches. Admiral John Godfrey needs a miracle, or a very good lie. Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley has an idea. Cholmondeley is awkward, painfully shy. An RAF officer seconded to MI5. Amateur naturalist, the kind of guy who gets talked over in meetings. He's been thinking about Fleming's Trout memo. Specifically, idea number 28. What if they actually did it? What if they found a corpse, dressed it as a British officer, planted fake invasion plans on it, and let the Germans discover it? He calls it Operation Trojan Horse. Cholmondeley tries to pitch it to senior staff. Gets laughed out of the room. Nobody wants to hear ideas from the weird RAF guy. Enter Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague. Montague is everything Cholmondeley isn't. Brilliant, charismatic, a rising star in the legal profession before the war, Jewish, connected. He's the Naval Intelligence Representative on the 20 Committee, the ultra-secret group that runs double agents. Cholmondeley corners him in a hallway, hands him the proposal. Montague reads it. His first reaction, this is completely insane. His second, this might actually work. They pitch it together to Colonel Johnny Bevan, head of the London Controlling Section, the department that coordinates all Allied deception. Bevan listens. His face shows nothing. When they finish, he leans back in his chair. Let me see if I understand. You want to find a dead body? Dress it as a Royal Marines officer. Plant fake documents on it suggesting we're invading Greece instead of Sicily. Float it off the coast of Spain. Hope the Spanish find it. Hope they show it to the Germans. Hope the Germans believe it. And hope Hitler diverts his forces based on a lie planted on a corpse. Yes, sir, Montague says. That's the stupidest plan I've ever heard. It's also the only decent plan anyone's brought me. You have permission to proceed. 1 week later, Bevan briefs Winston Churchill. Churchill is in bed, wearing a dressing gown, smoking a cigar. Bevan explains the operation. Churchill loves it immediately. When can you do it? We need a body first, Prime Minister. Churchill waves his cigar. Get me a body. The operation has a name now. Montague picks it from a list of available code names. Mincemeat. His sense of humour, he admits later, is somewhat macabre. Finding a body is harder than anyone expected. They need someone young, male, recently deceased. No next of kin who'll ask questions. Ian Fleming had written in the Trout Memo, I understand there is no difficulty in obtaining corpses at the Naval Hospital. That was wildly optimistic. You can't just walk into a hospital and say, give me a corpse. You need legal authority. A coroner, discretion. Montague contacts Bentley Purchase, a London coroner. The conversation is delicate. Montague can't reveal what he needs the body for. It's classified. He just needs someone who died recently and won't be missed. January 24th, 1943. A cold night in London. Police find a man dead in an abandoned warehouse in King's Cross. He's been there for hours, maybe days. His name is Glyndwr Michael, 34 years old, Welsh, homeless, unemployed. He'd ingested rat poison, phosphorus paste spread on bread crusts to kill vermin. Whether he ate it deliberately or thought it was discarded food, nobody knows. It was an agonizing death. The phosphorus burned through his stomach, turned his skin yellow. He lingered in St. Pancras Hospital for over 2 days before dying. Nobody came to visit, nobody claimed the body. His death certificate lists phosphorus poisoning. Took rat poison, bid to kill himself while of unsound mind. Purchase calls Montague. We have a body. Montague and Cholmondeley go to see it. There's a problem immediately. The yellow skin from the phosphorus. The malnourished frame. He doesn't look like a fit military officer. Purchase has an answer. He doesn't have to look like an officer. Only a staff officer. Desk workers, bureaucrats, not exactly physical specimens. But there's a bigger problem. Phosphorus poisoning doesn't look like drowning. After 3 days floating in salt water, Purchase assures them, nobody will be able to tell. Montague has doubts. What if the Spanish coroner is more sophisticated than they hope? What if he notices? Then the operation fails, Cholmondeley says quietly, and thousands of men die on the beaches of Sicily. They take the body. It goes into cold storage at the mortuary, 4 degrees Celsius. Any colder and the flesh will freeze, obvious when it thaws out. Purchase warns them. 3 months maximum before decomposition makes the corpse unusable. The clock starts ticking. Creating a dead officer is easy. Creating a believable dead officer is art. Montague and Cholmondeley don't just need a name and rank. They need a person, a life, a story that stands up to German intelligence scrutiny. They invent Captain Acting Major William Martin, Royal Marines, born March 29th, 1907 in Cardiff, Wales, Catholic, attached to Combined Operations Headquarters. But those are just facts. Facts don't make a person real. Montague stares at the corpse on the mortuary table. This body needs to tell a story, so he starts building a ghost. A photograph first. Martin needs a fiancée. Jean Leslie, a secretary in the office, volunteers her picture. For Pam, she says, handing it to Montague. He'll write love letters to this photograph, as Bill to Pam. Jean will play along, helping him craft authentic-sounding responses. Darling, Montague writes, I'm leaving for North Africa tomorrow. I don't know when I'll see you again. The ring is waiting at the jeweller's. I'm sorry I couldn't give it to you in person. Theatre ticket stubs. April 22nd, 1943. Strike a new note at the Prince of Wales Theatre. 2 tickets. Recent enough that Bill saw it just days before his death. With Pam, presumably. A letter from his father. Angry. Disappointed. I cannot say that I approve of your recent behaviour. The kind of letter fathers write when their sons overdraft their bank accounts and buy engagement rings on credit. Speaking of which, an overdraft notice from Lloyds Bank. £79 overdrawn. A receipt for an engagement ring, £53. Bills, receipts. A letter from his club about unpaid membership dues. Cholmondeley obsesses over the lint. Actual pocket lint. German intelligence will check the pockets, he insists. Real people have lint. Every item is calculated. Every detail tells a story. This isn't just a corpse anymore. This is William Martin, a real person with real problems who made real mistakes and was really in love. But the documents in the briefcase are the real masterpiece. The letters have to be perfect. Not just convincing, ironclad. One letter is from Lieutenant General Archibald Nye, Vice Chief of the Imperial General Staff, addressed to General Harold Alexander in North Africa. Nye writes it himself on official War Office letterhead, dated April 23rd, 1943, marked personal and most secret. My dear Alex, it begins, the letter discusses the upcoming invasion of Greece. It mentions appointing a new commander for the Guards Brigade, awards for American officers, casual insider details that make it feel authentic. Then, we stand a very good chance of making them think we will go for Sicily. It is an obvious objective, and one about which they must be nervous. It's a double bluff. The Germans will expect Sicily, it's obvious. This letter tells them they're right to expect it, but only because the Allies want them to expect it. The real target is Greece. Sicily is the feint. A second letter is from Lord Louis Mountbatten, head of Combined Operations. He's introducing Major Martin as an expert in amphibious landings. Makes a joke about sardines, as in Sardinia. a casual reference that makes Greece seem like the natural target. The letters are real, written by real generals, on real letterhead, with real signatures. The only thing fake is the information. Montague and Cholmondeley meet one final time before the operation launches. What if it doesn't work? Cholmondeley asks. Montague doesn't have an answer. He thinks about the men who'll storm Sicily's beaches if this fails. The bodies, the blood, the telegrams to mothers. It has to work, is all he says. But neither of them believes it will. April 17th, 1943. Glyndwr Michael, now William Martin, is placed in a specially designed canister. 21 pounds of dry ice fill the container. As it sublimates into carbon dioxide, it drives out oxygen and preserves the body. MI5, driver St. John, Jock. Horsefall, a former racing champion, loads the canister into a 1937 Fordson van. The container is so heavy, it requires 2 men to lift. Montague and Cholmondeley climb into the back with it. Through the night, 600 miles, London to Holyloch, Scotland. They don't talk much. What is there to say? They're transporting a homeless man's corpse to fool Hitler. Either it works, or thousands of men die. HMS Seraph is waiting at the dock. Lieutenant Bill Jewell and his crew have done special operations before. They're used to secrets. But even Jewell doesn't know what's really in the canister. He tells his crew it's a top-secret meteorological device, weather equipment to be deployed off Spain. The crew jokes about it immediately. Looks heavy for weather equipment. Must be monitoring German rain. John Brown's body, maybe. They're closer to the truth than they know. Montague and Jewell meet privately. What's really in there? Jewell asks. Better you don't know, Montague says. If you're captured, you can honestly say you never saw the contents. Jewell accepts this. He's a submarine commander. He's used to carrying secrets through hostile waters. April 19th. Seraph departs Scotland. For 11 days, the crew lives with that canister. It sits in the submarine like a ghost. Some of them touch it as they pass, a superstitious gesture. Luck, protection. They don't know they're transporting a corpse, but they suspect something. Seraph is bombed twice en route, depth charges, close enough to rattle the hull. The canister shifts slightly with each explosion. Every time Jewell thinks, what if it breaks open? What if the crew sees? But it holds. April 29th. They reach the coast of Spain. Huelva. Jewell spends the day submerged, reconnoitering the coastline, watching the currents, calculating. They need to release the body close enough to shore that it drifts in, but far enough out that Spanish fishermen don't see the submarine. He waits for darkness, for the moon to set, for the fishing boats to move away. At 4:15 a.m. on April 30th, Seraph surfaces. Jewell brings only his officers on deck. He sends the crew below. Sir, one of them asks. Below, Jewell repeats. Now. They open the canister. The smell is immediate, overwhelming. 3 months of decomposition, even with dry ice and carbon dioxide preservation. One officer vomits over the side. Another turns away, breathing through his mouth. The body is worse than they imagined. Yellow skin, sunken cheeks. The uniform hangs on bones, but the briefcase is still chained to the wrist, still locked. They lift the corpse, lower it into the black water. It floats face down, arms spread. The briefcase dangles from the chain. For a moment, it just sits on the surface. Then the current catches it, pulls it towards Spain. Jewell reads Psalm 39. His voice carries over the water. Lord, make me to know mine end, and the measure of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am. Then he orders full astern. The wash from the propellers gives the body one final push towards shore. They watch it disappear into darkness. Mincemeat completed, dual radios to London. Now comes the hard part, getting rid of the canister. They motor 12 miles out, surface again, push the empty container overboard. It floats. Air trapped in the insulation keeps it on the surface. They riddle it with machine gun fire. The crew below hears the shots, wonders what the hell is happening. The canister still floats. Finally, they use plastic explosives. The explosion echoes across the water. The canister sinks. Seraph dives, disappears beneath the Atlantic. Behind them, a corpse drifts towards Spain. Everything that happens next is out of their control. 9:30 a.m. The same morning, José Antonio Rey Maria has been fishing the waters off Punta Umbria for 30 years. He knows these currents, these tides, these shores. He's seen bodies before, drowned sailors, shipwreck victims. The sea gives up its dead eventually. But this one is different. This one is wearing a military uniform. Royal Marines by the looks of it. British officer. And there's a briefcase, chained to his wrist, locked. Rey Maria tows the body to shore. Within an hour, Spanish soldiers arrive. Within 2 hours, a naval judge is examining the corpse. Within 3 hours, word reaches Adolf Klaus. Klaus is officially the German vice consul in Huelva. Unofficially, he's an Abwehr intelligence officer. And he just got very interested in a British officer who washed up on Spanish shores. The Spanish are technically neutral, but Spain owes Germany. Franco's fascist government defeated the Republicans with Nazi help. The debt remains unpaid. The Spanish authorities know what Berlin wants. They take the briefcase to a back room, use heated steel rods, thin, flexible, to carefully roll the letters out of the envelopes without breaking the seals. It takes hours, painstaking work. But when they're done, the envelopes look untouched. They photograph every page, every line, every signature. Then they roll the letters back in, reseal the envelopes, put everything back in the briefcase, chain it back to the corpse's wrist. No obvious signs of tampering. The photographs go to Madrid. Madrid sends them to Berlin. And in London, Montague and Cholmondeley wait. Days pass. No word. Montague can't sleep. He runs through everything that could go wrong. What if the Spanish hand the briefcase directly to British authorities? What if German intelligence suspects a plant? What if the letter's seals were obviously broken? What if the corpse decomposed too much and the coroner realizes it's been dead for months? What if? What if? What if? May 1st. The British Vice Consul Francis Haselden attends Major Martin's autopsy. The Spanish coroner examines the body, takes notes, makes measurements. Haselden watches, terrified the coroner will notice the phosphorus poisoning, the yellow skin, the signs of a death that happened months ago, not days. The coroner rules, death by drowning, body in water 3 to 5 days. Haselden barely keeps his face neutral. He files a report with London. Autopsy complete. No suspicions. May 2nd. William Martin is buried with full military honours in Nuestra Señora de la Soledad Cemetery, Huelva, Spain. The Spanish even fire a salute. A British officer, killed in action, laid to rest on foreign soil. Except he's not British. He's not an officer. He didn't die in action. He's a homeless Welshman who ate rat poison 3 months ago. And he's about to change the war. The British get Martin's personal effects back a week later. The wallet, the photos, the receipts, the love letter from Pam. Everything looks fine. Untouched. But Montague isn't satisfied. He has the items examined by a specialist, a forensics expert from MI5. The expert studies the envelopes under magnification. Here, he says, pointing. See these marks? Parallel indentations. That's from steel rods. Someone rolled the letters out without breaking the seals. The Germans? Montague asks. The Spanish, but yes, for the Germans. The photographs are in Berlin. But did Hitler believe them? May 9th, 1943. The Berghof, Bavaria, Hitler's mountain retreat. Adolf Hitler sits at his desk studying the photographs from Spain. Admiral Karl Dönitz stands nearby, uneasy. The documents claim the Allies will invade Greece and Sardinia. That Sicily is a diversion, a feint to draw German forces away from the real targets. My Führer, Dönitz begins carefully, we should consider the possibility that these documents are planted. It's convenient. Too convenient. A British officer carrying such sensitive material just happens to crash off Spain. Where we'll find it? Hitler doesn't look up. The British are not that clever. But the officer drowned in an accident. The briefcase was recovered. These things happen in war. My Führer, Sicily is the obvious. Hitler cuts him off. Exactly. Sicily is obvious. Too obvious. The British know it's obvious. Therefore, they'll attack elsewhere and use Sicily as a diversion. There it is. The fatal assumption. Hitler isn't just reading the documents. He's reading them the way he wants to read them. They confirm what he already believes, that the British are predictable, that Sicily is a feint, that he's smarter than Churchill. The documents don't change Hitler's mind. They validate it, and that's why the deception works. In Berlin, Colonel Alexis von Rohen, a German intelligence analyst, writes a memo. Something feels wrong about these documents. Too perfect, too convenient. He recommends treating them with skepticism. His superior reads it, then files it away. Hitler has already seen the documents. Hitler believes them. Questioning the Führer's judgment is unwise. Von Rohene's memo disappears into the archives. Years later, after the war, it will be found. Proof that someone in Berlin almost saw through the operation. But in May 1943, Hitler's word is final. He orders the 1st Panzer Division moved from France to Greece. 7 infantry divisions from Italy follow. 10 more divisions are sent to the Balkans. Sardinia is heavily reinforced. Aircraft, ships, artillery. Sicily, the real target, is stripped of defenders. Benito Mussolini objects. They'll attack Sicily, he insists during a meeting with Hitler. It's obvious. That's exactly what they want you to think, Hitler replies. The attack will come in Greece. For once in his life, Mussolini is absolutely right. For once in his life, Hitler doesn't listen. May 14th, 1943, London. A decoded German message arrives at Montagu's office. His hands shake as he reads it. It's from Berlin to German commanders in the Mediterranean. It warns that the Allies intend to invade Greece and Sardinia, that Sicily is a diversion. He reads it again, then again. They believed it. Hitler believed it. A homeless man's corpse just changed the course of the war. Montagu closes his office door, sits down, puts his head in his hands. For months he's carried the weight of this operation, the knowledge that if it failed, thousands of men would die because of his mistake. And it worked. He composes a telegram to Churchill. His eyes are wet. Mincemeat swallowed rod, line and sinker by the right people, and from the best information they look like acting on it. Churchill's reply comes within the hour. Congratulations. Now let's invade Sicily. July 9th, 1943. Operation Husky begins. Over 150,000 Allied troops, British, American and Canadian, launch the invasion of Sicily. The beaches that were supposed to be fortified, nearly empty. The panzers that were supposed to defend the coast, in Greece, waiting for an invasion that will never come. The Luftwaffe squadrons, redeployed to Sardinia. Allied forces hit the beaches at Gela, Licata and Syracuse. They expect fierce resistance, brutal fighting, thousands of casualties. Instead, they find scattered defenders, confused Italian soldiers, German units too small and too far away to mount effective resistance. General George Patton's 7th Army takes Palermo in just 11 days. Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery's 8th Army captures Syracuse on the first day. The Germans don't realize what's happening for nearly 2 weeks. Hitler still believes Sicily is a feint. He keeps his forces in Greece, waiting. By the time he realizes he's been fooled, it's far too late. Sicily falls in 38 days. Allied casualties, 2,721 killed. Allied planners had predicted 10,000 dead just taking the beaches. That's 7,000 men who went home to their families. 7,000 telegrams that were never sent. 7,000 funerals that never happened. Because of a lie, planted on a corpse. 2 weeks after Sicily falls, Mussolini is overthrown. Within months, Italy surrenders. The gateway to Europe is open. Sir Michael Howard, official historian of British intelligence in World War II, later writes, Operation Mincemeat was the best known and perhaps the most successful single deception operation of the entire war. The operation remained classified until 1953, when Ewan Montagu published his book, The Man Who Never Was. It became an international bestseller and was made into a film in 1956. But Montagu kept one secret, the identity of the corpse. He described him only as a bit of a ne'er-do-well, and the only worthwhile thing that he ever did, he did after his death. For decades, William Martin's grave in Huelva bore only his fictional name. In 1996, amateur historian Roger Morgan found a declassified document revealing the truth. The body was Glyndwr Michael, a 34-year-old homeless Welshman who died from rat poison. In 1997, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission added a postscript to the grave. Glyndwr Michael served as Major William Martin, RM. Glyndwr Michael spent his last days alone, sick, and forgotten. He died in agony in a hospital bed. Nobody came to identify him. Nobody claimed his body. Nobody mourned. In life, he was invisible. In death, he saved an army. The operation succeeded because Montagu and Cholmondeley understood something fundamental. People believe what they want to believe. Hitler wanted to think he was smarter than Churchill. The documents told him he was right. We don't question information that makes us feel clever. They created William Martin so convincingly, with his theatre tickets, his unpaid bills, his love letters, that the man who never was became more real than the man who was. Glyndwr Michael died forgotten. William Martin died a hero. Same body, different story. And that story changed the course of World War II. The corpse that fooled Hitler. The homeless man who helped defeat fascism. Not bad for a ne'er-do-well. Operation Mincemeat wasn't the only time the Allies used deception to win the war. Want to see the biggest con of all? Check out my video on Operation Fortitude, where the Allies created an entire phantom army to fool Hitler about D-Day. General Patton commanded divisions that didn't exist, and the Germans fell for it completely. And if you want to see what happens when deception goes wrong, watch my video on the Bay of Pigs, where the CIA tried to fool everyone, including their own president, and created one of the worst intelligence disasters in American history. Because the difference between Operation Mincemeat and the Bay of Pigs. One was a lie told to the enemy. The other was a lie told to yourself.